Daith da, Eubinakan. Welcome to podcast number 107. Now, when you saw the title, An Inspector Calls, I thought you'd be thinking, he's going to talk about that famous play back from the 1940s. Well, you're wrong. And really, it should have been 3 inspectors' calls, because inspections, they're like buses. You wait years for one, and then you get 3 altogether. Well, I'll give you the background to it. You may have seen on the news a few months ago now, up in Hull, the funeral directors that was raided, and the police investigation is going on as we speak. And that prompted the government to say that all funeral directors' premises should be inspected, just to give the public a peace of mind, which is brilliant. I mean, this is something that it should have happened years ago, really. So down here, Cornwall Council, they've had to go to all funeral directors to do an inspection, to ask them all sorts of questions about how they look after ashes, how they look after the deceased, donations, everything. Really in-depth investigation, which is brilliant. Because what a lot of people don't realise is up until now, anyone could open up tomorrow as a funeral director. And thankfully, that is changing now. So, first of all, we did have our Cornwall Council inspection and everything was perfect, which was brilliant. That's good. So also, we're in the National Association of Funeral Directors, and we've been in that when Father took over the business in 1981. We've been in it that long. And Ronnie Williams and Elaine that had the business before, they was in the NAFD. So you can see we go back decades doing that. And with them, for a long time now, they've been doing inspections as a matter of course. And these inspections is every 2 or 4 years. So we have this chap come in, and usually they'll say, here, we're coming next week, do an inspection. This chap come in, he said, I'm from the NAFD, I've come to inspect your premises. Now, he'd sent us an email, but we couldn't find it. To us whether it went, well, we looked in our junk and everything, couldn't find it. So it was a bit of unannounced, really, which is fine, because that's good, really, because you can see then that he just inspects us as we are. And so that was our second inspection. And again, it went brilliantly. Again, very in-depth, but brilliantly. And then this week, we've had our third one. So as well as being in the National Association of Funeral Directors, we're also in the Society of Allied and Independent Funeral Directors. So just to give you an idea of the difference, the NAFD, any size funeral directors can be in that. It can be a family firm, it can be the big nationals or whatever. Whereas SAFE, as they call it, SAIF, is just for us small independent family funeral directors. So we was due their inspection as well, and it just happened. He turned up within, 3 weeks of the other 2. But all 3 of them, I mean, they're very in-depth, which is reassuring, and it was brilliant. All went well. I mean, they was blown away with our premises, which was brilliant. I was pleased about that because that cost us a lot of money. But it all went well. But it is reassuring for people who have lost someone that this is all being done now. Now, Scotland is further ahead than we are with regulation, but England and Cornwall, I think within a short space of time, will be coming in line with Scotland. But it was very reassuring. They gave a good look round, looked into all things we do for like funeral plans. That's another thing. We provide funeral plans. So they had to ask us how we do that and everything. So, yeah, it was very good, very good. As far as funerals go, since I spoke to you last, we have been out on our travels again. We was up St Breward last week, end of last week, Friday. And then that was for Brenda's funeral. And I always feel sorry for James up there because the digging up there, 'tis like boulder, 'tis solid granite. And he don't do it like Roger used to do years ago. I might have said, Roger Parr, he'd use dynamite, but we don't use dynamite anymore. And then in the afternoon, we had Tony's funeral. Tony, he was another one. Somebody lived in Wadebridge for decades. Local policeman who sadly passed away. And I always say that certain areas go through a time of having a few people pass away. And at the minute is Wadebridge. And so much so that on my Facebook page, some of my friends are actually commenting on how many local characters and bridgers have gone. And Tony was one of them too. And that was a fantastic gang there for his funeral. As far as the weekend goes, I did work quite a bit of it, but I did have Saturday morning off and we went up to Callington. Now, Mabon's now in the under-18s girls football, and as a kind of a transition from the girls to the women's, they've got this kind of mini league now. But the funny thing is, you've got Charleston are in it. I don't know if Bodmin are or no, but definitely Charleston, Bude, Wadebridge, and all the games, home or away, are played at Callington. So we had to traipse up there. We played Charleston, first game of the season, and the girls, they did very well. We did lose 4-2. Mabon scored a cracker of a goal because Mabon's on the right wing and she cut in. Brilliant goal, but they lost 4-2. I worked a bit apart from that, but then Sunday we thought we'd go out for a quiet dinner. And that went wrong because we was put on the table next to Nigel and Lynn Orkin and Adrian and their dear little maid. But we did have a brilliant laugh. It was good. And then actually the table behind us was Maureen and Robbie Tatlow. So it was familiar faces all around. As far as the next week started, Monday, 'twas a sad old job. 'Twas an old schoolmate of mine, Steve, who sadly passed away. And that was a church full there, Eglosale. And then we whipped down to Camborne for a funeral in the afternoon. And then we was Eglosale again on Tuesday for Phil's funeral. And church was packed as well. And that was another true character, real true character. Thursday, yesterday, we managed to time coming out of St Evil Church just as there was a cloudburst. And it only lasted, a minute. But by the time we got to the hearse, we was streaming, leaking, I tell you. We really was. And we was back Eglosale again today for dear Mike's funeral. Another legend, another of our locals that have gone. You would have seen the photos on Facebook. I can remember when I was growing up, Yelly was Wadebridge Football Club. And fantastic striker, really was. I'd say church was full again today. So a good tribute to another local legend. And then Mick's funeral this afternoon. Again, absolute people standing outside the crematorium in the waiting room. So it's been a sad old time for people at Wadebridge this week, I must admit. And we've got a few more that passed away this week. So it's Wadebridge is going through a tough time. And one thing I must do, actually, I forgot to do last week, and that's to thank everybody that gave donations and sponsored me when I run the London Marathon this year. As you might remember, I did it for the Alzheimer's Society, and it's taken this long. I mean, the run was in April, but some people's just giving pages, they get extended, so we only now get into the final figure. And back in May, I did speak to the Alzheimer's Society then and said, how much of all of us that ran the marathon for the charity, how much of us raised? And then it was £902,974. So I left it till week before last, and I rung them and I said, have it closed now? They said, pretty much so. They said, we don't think we'll get much more money in now, and it's now gone over £1 million. So that's fantastic. So thank you everybody that's donated for my sponsorship. I mean, mine was just a small bit, but there were so many of us running for Alzheimer's Society, and to raise over £1 million to a cause which is close to my heart. Thank you so much. Hopefully we're a little step closer to finding a cure to slow it down, maybe reverse it, I don't know. I mean, it was quite touching in church today because Nick was talking about his father, Yelly, who had dementia, and he was saying the same thing, what a cruel disease it is. So hopefully we can get him closer every year to a cure, but thank you very much. So now we're going over to Moira. I had a brilliant response to the first episode with Moira, and I'm sure you'll love this week, especially if you're a Padstonian, because at one point she's actually walking down Padstow Main Street in her mind, telling me what shops was where, and most of the names I'd never heard of. So I think you'll find it very interesting. So over to Moira now, and then I'll speak to you directly with me Cornish word and me Cornish dialect of the week. So here 'tis.
Because, the Waterloo train, the Atlantic Coast Express, came into Padstow. It was never at 6:20. It was always known as the 6:19.
Oh, right.
And if the 6:19 was coming and a car came up, we had to clear out off the plane on the street because the taxis were coming up to take the people out to the bays from the train.
I see. Yeah.
And took them out. Well, how many taxis were there? Reynolds's, I think, had 3.
Right.
And then there was Hawkins's here had 2. And there was somebody at Trevone had 1. 6 cars.
Yeah.
No other traffic. But all changed, and that's that. Mm. But the Atlantic Coast Express, Padstow to Waterloo, how wonderful, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
And there was a gentleman called Mark Bate. He was a technician for Mr. Bailey, the dentist, still a dentist place, 65 Molesworth Street.
Yeah.
He was the technician for Mr. Bailey, and he went up on the train every day to Wadebridge, and he was always late, and they used to say, "Wait for Mark," and they used to hold the Atlantic Coast, Padstow to Waterloo up for him to get on.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
So, brilliant.
And of course I was aboard at the day it went through the buffers, the school train, but I'll put you first. That was interesting.
Yeah.
It didn't stop.
No, I never knew about that until I started doing these podcasts, and Jill said about it as well. There was a couple, somebody else did as well, but Jill O'Keefe did. And,
and we were all like standing up ready to get off, and we had this most formidable lady, clerk at Padstow, Miss Cavill.
Right.
And I was quite frightened of her. If you didn't have your pass to get out, you had to wait for somebody to go along by the railings, and then they'd pass you theirs and you could get out. All right, when Ernie Jarvis was doing it.
Right.
But anyway, she was standing, it was like Midsummer Murder she was. She had a pea green, overall on.
Yeah.
And it went straight through. Made the Daily Mail.
Did it?
Yeah. Oh, no, the Daily Mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah. School children, none of them injured.
No.
But it was funny. But, I think the railway played a very big part in Padstow's development.
Definitely.
With the East Coast trawlers and things.
Yeah.
Because they were able to send the fish quickly up on the train from the fish market.
Yeah.
Because there was several little East Coast trawlers in Padstow in the war permanently. Yeah. The Golden Chance, the Pleasant Friend, they were there and they lived. Some of them lived there permanently, and there's quite a lot of Lowestoft people, relatives, in Padstow now.
Yeah.
But they were so tiny, the little fishing boats. And they'd come up the river. They were just there all the war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, Elizabeth Bennett.
Oh, Elizabeth, yes.
And she said about when you were about 8, you went with your dad down to the harbour. There was a boat that was
yes,
sunk.
HMS Warwick.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but that was when my father was home from the Russian convoys.
Right.
He had his hands all bandaged up. And I'd been in Sunday school, that's right, in Padstow.
Right.
And suddenly there was activity in the street. I mean, you never heard any engines, and the ambulances then had like a ding, 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 ding.
Oh, yes.
And that went 2 or 3 times. And I remember father saying, February it was,
Right.
we'll go down and see what's happening down there.
Yeah.
And we were up, not outside of my grandparents' side, we were up the dock area. And it haunted me nearly all my life. The men were a lot of them on stretchers, and they were covered in the black oil.
Oh.
It was quite frightening.
Yeah.
Yes, I've kept that up all the time. That was 1944.
Were there many survivors then? Or many lose their
They
lives?
lost. Now, how many men did they lose? 60. But of course, all the bodies that washed in, like the ones that are in St Merrin churchyard, washed in, like I think Constantine boobies. Well, there's one on the Isles of Scilly, and there's one farther down the west. They were buried where the body came in.
I see. How did it sink?
Oh, Jerry. He was called Captain Politz or something. I met him once.
Right.
He came to one of the services. You see, 1944, getting towards the end of the war, they were blowing them out the water everywhere.
Yeah.
17 miles off Trevose Head on a Sunday. And in those days, they don't do it now, I don't think, the men had just had their rum ration.
All right.
Because in the Navy then, you had your rum ration.
Yeah.
Like dinner time.
Yeah.
And up she went. And of course, Captain Crisps, who lived in Harbourview
Right.
in the war, the family lived there, the Crisp, he brought a lot of them into Padstow. But I had never in my life, and never seen it again, there was a lot of Belgium and French trawlers in there as well. It was full. They must have picked people up, but I think Captain Crisp, he lost his job through picking these men up, and I've got the documents about it somewhere.
Right.
But I thought about the men in the water a lot. But I remember my mother saying the next day nobody spoke about it.
Wow.
So there we are.
Yeah. You were quite sheltered from the war apart from that then?
Oh, very much
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Never even went to Wade Bridge
No.
till the war was over.
God.
And I went to Wade Bridge. I thought, my God, that's a nice big city.
Oh. Oh.
No, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I think we were like quite insular with it.
Yeah.
And of course we had the Yanks prior to that
Yeah.
D-Day in Pridda Place. They used to call it the castle.
All right.
Yeah, I remember David going to Wade Bridge and I thought, oh, isn't this exciting?
Well, so how about shops in Padstow at the time then?
Oh, yes. I was thinking about that this morning.
Yeah.
In this day and age, would any of them make a profit?
Yeah.
There was the top of Duke Street. There was Edgar Grunaway.
Right.
Great big man, and he had like a stable door, I remember. Another great big baking machine.
Yes.
And then next door, Biddick's had a shop there. Well, they sold like tin stuff, because I remember if I went home for my dinner from school in Padstow, I had a yen for McConaughey's oxtail soup.
Right.
6pence, I think it was, cheap and cheerful. And I would go in there. Well, they also sold veg. Then you went a bit farther down. Oh, no, and then opposite there was a baker's, Jensen's.
Right.
But in the war, they didn't operate in the shop. You had to go up that passage on the side. I saw it the other day. They were in there making the bread.
Right.
In there. It was a very good baker. And but very limited what they made.
Mm-hmm.
And the bread was 4pence halfpenny.
Right.
A loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Then you went a bit further down, and it was halfway down. The Barretts, well, they made a few homemade buns. I wouldn't say they made a profit what they made.
Right.
Then you went farther down where the Spar shop is,
Yes.
and that was Reeves's. Then opposite was another baker, Owens. And next to that, Johnny Warden, the barber. He's the gentleman that revived all the Padstow carols, had them printed out.
Yeah.
And then there was Dives' shoe shop, Miss Stribley's down there.
Yeah.
Then down the main bit was, wonderful shop, Donald Raw.
Oh, yes.
Donald Raw ladies' shop. And just after the war, when the visitors started coming again, they would wait to go to Donald Raw's to buy the gear for the beach.
Right.
All the good makes.
Yeah.
Janssen's and all that.
Yeah.
Well, that's Jules now.
Yeah.
Do you know her?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Then you go down Radford's, that was always there. Wonderful ironmongers. And on the left there was another little draper's. Oh, and then the next one was exciting. That was the international stores.
Right.
And I've heard my mother say, it came to Padstow, must have been in the 30s, I think. And it was a huge building, or I thought it was big. And I always remember they had like a cash desk, lovely wood in the middle of it. And you ping something and there was a girl sat in there and you paid the bill in there. Right. But of course, they were some of the first people that made this mass-produced cake, and they called it slab cake.
Oh, right, yeah.
And my grandfather, who never hardly, been out of Padstow, he used to say to my mother, go over and get me 2 or 3 slices of slab cake.
Brilliant.
And, but that was a big shop. And then, Butman and Muttons were next. Wonderful name, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the house where Mr. Claude Berry's father lived. Claude Berry, our wonderful author, Padstow author, editor of the West Briton, Padstonian. And then the Institute. Then there was Williams's. Midland Bank, down there. May's, they were interesting. My aunt worked there. Just had a picture of her out there.
Yeah.
And they sold sweets and ice cream and stuff. And then there was another butcher brewer. Then Williams's. And Williams's, they were newsagents and books and that. And they had like a store opposite. It didn't bother much, I suppose. And I remember as a kid in the war, they had all these old comics, Mickey Mouse, all piled up in them, hundreds of them. Yeah. And I used to say, you could go in and buy them.
Right.
Cheap, and I used to have Mickey Mouse. And 2 chemists. Then there was Buckingham's. And then there was a wonderful shop there, Hicks and Capel.
Right.
And Hicks's was the grocers. And Capels were the dress people. Mr. Capel was also a tailor. I remember going in there, my mother taking me in there for new straw bonnets for Sunday school, in the summer. And you went up the stairs, and at the top of the stairs, there was a ruddy great hole.
All
And I
right.
used to say to everybody, watch the hole. Well, if you went in the hole, you would be down in the grocery department.
Oh, lovely. No health and
Watch
safety.
And then, of course, latterly there was in Mill Square, there was Miss Old. Have you ever heard?
Don't know.
She had she sold everything: wool, toilet rolls, ironmongery,
Yeah.
you name it, she sold it. And she had the wonderful name. She was called Carnethia, and her sister was called Cynthia Glanfinius.
Get away.
Yeah, and their mother, was a castle from Palmola.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mary Jane Castle. I think she lived at Palmola.
Yeah.
And they also lived at Wadebridge over the bridge. But it was her. Then there was Buckingham's.
Yeah, right.
That was always there. But then there's another one up on the hill. How did all these little shops pay?
Exactly.
I do not know. But it was quite interesting. And of course, I always remember when when plastic first came out, they invented like a plastic rain scarf. It was like a triangle you put on your head.
Yeah.
And of course, with all the kids, I remember having one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, and there was a man farther up the street, more on the Gendon Bakehouse side.
Right.
And latterly, he opened a fish and chip shop and like a snack bar,
Right.
local chap. And I always remember one Saturday dinner time, he must have obtained a candy floss machine. And all of us kids, we all queued for hours for a stick of candy floss. So exciting.
Yeah.
Can you imagine kids doing that now?
Yeah.
Of course, there was a cinema, Saturday afternoon matinees, 1 and 2pence, I think. And had all the beautiful murals in it,
All right.
done by Gilbert England, the wonderful Padstow artist who never made any money from he mostly worked in watercolours.
Right.
And he'd pay people for things with one of his paintings.
All right.
I've got some here.
Yeah.
But, I think now he could, make a fortune.
Yeah, exactly.
But these murals in the cinema were wonderful. And then on the sides and the panelling became like Gainsborough ladies and that.
Oh, yeah.
But it was lovely. But where does it go? Another thing too, it was sometimes quite poor. In my father's time, it's like a film set now, but there was parts of it that were getting a bit dingy years ago, and they've made to me now, a film set of it.
Yeah.
It needed a little spiff up, but did it need as much?
As much, yeah.
Yeah, but we had another shoe shop in Mill Square. Saunders as well, they were in Wadebridge as well.
That's right, yeah.
Nick Saunders.
Yeah.
They were there. You've got to remember, the first development there after the war was the Admiralty houses there,
Yes.
Raleigh Close and that.
Yeah. It was a lot smaller than it is now.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it was, David. Very, very much so.
Well, thank you, Moira. Proper. I hope you enjoyed that. That was brilliant. And we'll have our final bit from Moira next week. I thought I'd do, from your Cornish word this week, I thought I'd do a little phrase kind of thing where you say good evening. So if you want to say good evening to somebody, 'tis Gurthugur da. Gurthugur da. And again, 'tis back to front, because really 'tis evening good. But there we are. So that's what that is. And a little phrase, this is a John Benalek one that he said to me at the time. 'Tis a beauty, really, because a week or two ago, I think I went on about if you gnawed somebody, instead of you knew somebody, if you gnawed them. And John gave me this one. I've got to practice this, get it right. He said, I thought I gnawed he, and when I heard he speak, then I gnawed he. So there we go. How about that? I don't know if I can repeat that again or no. That's almost like saying, after you've had a few drinks, I ain't a pheasant plucker, I'm a pheasant plucker's son. But there we are. I thought I gnawed he, but when I heard he speak, then I gnawed he. So there we go. Right, well, I'll leave you with that. Sorry it's been a bit longer this week, but I didn't want to break up Moira's bit until she'd finished talking about the main shops in Padstow. I could have finished it a bit earlier, but I thought it'd be nice to get it all in one chunk. So anyway, I'll leave you with that, and I'll speak to you again next week. Wish you well. Do Guinness. Curnovis Vicken.